So I just went to ChatGPT and I asked ChatGPT, I said, give me a list of the most common crypto scams. Now I want to explain why I did this. If you follow my channel, you know that I love cryptocurrency. I believe in this technology. I'm a cryptocurrency enthusiast. I'm not a cryptocurrency financial advisor. I love to invest in cryptocurrency. I love earning passive income in cryptocurrency. I am a huge advocate for this technology, and I believe this technology is going to transform the world. I want you to be safe if you're learning about crypto. So it's important that you're aware of all the different ways that you could get scammed. Please understand this. I've been scammed in crypto. Anybody who's been in this space long enough, you have fell victim to probably one of these 13 crypto scams. And as I go through this list, I want you to let me know down in the comments which one that you have fell victim to. Now, I'm hoping you will do this because when other people are watching this video, I want them to understand that A, they need to be careful. Lots of people fall victim to these things. And B, I also want them to understand that they're not alone. Plenty of us have been made victims of scams, and we've also risen up and still become successful as crypto investors as a whole. When I first asked ChatGPT, when I said, give me your list, it gave me like 7, and then I said, give me more, and it said like 17. And I told you some of those didn't relate. There were several that ChatGPT actually didn't even put on the list that are common scams right now. One is very prevalent on Twitter. One right now, which I may do a whole video on, is very prevalent right now on YouTube. I want to make certain that I mention those as well. So as I go through each one of these, I'm going to explain what they are, give you some examples. I'll share personal stories. I'm not too proud to share how I got scammed in a couple of different situations. So let's just go ahead and go down the list. The first one being a phishing scam. This is when someone sends you, something and says, hey, your Amazon package is out for delivery. We just need your address. Click here. Or, hey, you just got this payment in PayPal. Click here to go to your PayPal account. Or, hey, we've updated our services on your bank account. There's a link and you're supposed to click on the link to go to your bank account. And anytime you do that, the email is not legitimate. They're impersonating these actual companies. These attackers do these attacks all the time, and they only have to be right a very slim percentage of the time. But get this, did you know of cybersecurity experts, the #1 cybersecurity attack that they fall prey to at the time when I took that course was phishing attacks? When I first heard that, I was shocked. Like, who still falls for those? Like, don't you know better than to fall for that? But again, you only got to be wrong once, just once. And I recently got an email and clicked on the link in the email and thought, oh, wait a minute, I shouldn't have done that. Here's how you avoid falling victim to a phishing attack. If you get an email, never ever click on the link. The way these work is they're trying to tell you to go log in somewhere. Let's just say you go to a Coinbase website, but it's not Coinbase. It will look like Coinbase's website. It will 100% look like it. You got to log in. You've actually entered your info on a website that is cloned. It's not a real website. Typically, if you go up to the domain, you'll realize the domain is not correct. Instead of Coinbase being spelled properly, instead of it being COIN, it might be CION.com. It could be Coinbase.net, Coinbase.io, Coinbase.tk. It could be something like that. So what you have to do is anytime you get an email telling you that there's anything wrong on any account that you have anywhere inside or outside of crypto, always open up a fresh browser and go directly to the website to log in to see if there was something you needed to actually take care of. Just be wary of phishing attacks. Again, once you know it, it seems like how can people fall for this stuff? But even the experts fall for this stuff. You only got to let your guard down one time, make one mistake, and then someone could have access to your crypto exchange account. Next up is rug pulls. Now, if you're in the decentralized finance space, we're very familiar with rug pulls. In fact, so familiar that a lot of things are called rug pulls that are not actually rug pulls. A real rug pull is essentially where someone has put money into a project. Let's just say we were coming over here to Uniswap. You come to Uniswap and you swap Ethereum for some sort of token. In order for you to be able to make that swap, somebody has to put liquidity in there. They have to put that token in there with a little bit of ETH or whatever. When a project launches, for example, and the price is going up, and up, what's happening is a lot of people are swapping their ETH for that token, The liquidity pool is what it's called. The liquidity pool ends up with a lot of Ethereum in it. And what the developers can do is they can go in there and they can pull that liquidity out. And when they pull that liquidity out, what happens is the price will collapse because the very next sell just drops it to zero. So you end up with a chart that goes up and then collapses. Like it goes, if you can see the mouse on the screen, it goes up and just a red candle down. Nobody can sell because there's no liquidity there and it went to zero. They call that a rug pull. All the liquidity's been pulled out, the rug has been pulled out from underneath the investor, so to speak. Now, how can you avoid rug pulls? One thing is be careful from going into early projects. People like to get into early projects because early projects can be very, very profitable, and it's true, they can. Let me give you an example. In DeFi, I had a friend of mine who went into a project, and he went in maybe a minute before me. He made 10 times the money I made. And that worked out for him in that case. But when it's a rug pull, the whole thing can collapse and you're left with nothing, with no warning. People want to go in for those big wins, but the truth is rug pulls are all too common. Be careful going into a project early and know that's a real possible risk, especially if it's a new project, new development team with no track record. Make sure projects have been audited. If it's been audited and there's good audit results from a reputable company, the audit will tell you if there's any risk of like liquidity being drained from the pool or whatever. All right, next up, pump and dump schemes. This is probably more common than we want to realize. Anytime an influencer talks about a project and it does well and then the price drops off, people assume it was pumped and dumped. I don't think that's true every time at all, particularly if it's a larger project, particularly if the whole market goes down. But do I think it happens? Yes. All right, next up, fake ICOs. These aren't as common as they once were, but it's initial coin offerings. There's nothing wrong with a legitimate ICO as long as it's operating in a legal jurisdiction. There's two ways these are done. One is the whole thing is fake. They're not even launching a project. They just pretend like they are. They got some fake website, some fake looking white paper, and it looks good. But then when you send your money, nothing ever happens. The project never launches. Totally just fake. The other thing that can happen with ICOs, and I think this has been way more common than has ever been truly talked about. Projects do launch, but they launch with these big grand ideas. We're going to launch and we're going to have our own credit debit card. I used to see this a lot. We're going to have our own credit or debit card, and we're going to help facilitate, electronic payments worldwide. And it's on our roadmap to have this done in like 3 years. Well, I know enough about the financial system and merchant services throughout the world to realize that's not likely, especially with crypto. But you'll see stuff like that, or they'll have some grand idea. You go in there and there may be some sort of a team, there may be some communication, but nothing ever truly moves forward. And eventually what happens is the project eventually dies. There's been projects in the top 20 crypto that I think essentially did this, and development kind of stopped. Nothing ever went anywhere. Communication slowly stopped. With ICOs, if you know who the team is, or you know who the venture capital that is investing, who are those people, that can help you make certain that a project is probably more likely to be legit. But just the fact that it's an early project may not be successful anyway. That's what you have to just keep in mind. All right, next up, impersonation scams. This is someone impersonating somebody else and is basically a lie. Story time. First time I saw this, that it blew my mind. Well, the very first time I saw this, I saw a YouTube video, and this is not very common anymore. YouTube has ways of catching this, but the scammers are smart because there's another big YouTube scam going on right now that YouTube has not quite caught on to. They will catch on to it. Until they do, people are becoming victim for this new scam, and I'll mention it toward the end. But this one was where basically CZ, the former CEO of Binance, was given a live talk. And I was watching what he was saying, and it just didn't make sense to me. He was basically talking about how Binance was, creating this initiative, and they were trying to bring about mass adoption and create attention in crypto. And they were going to start sending everybody money, and all you had to do was send them X amount of dollars, and you would get all this money back. It didn't make sense. But because it looked like the CEO of Binance talking, they're basically using some early stage AI stuff to make it look like it was him talking. And because of that, I know people fell for it. There was a pure QR code on the screen you could scan and send Bitcoin in or Ethereum in, which anyone who did it certainly got scammed. That was not real, but it did look kind of real. Anybody who's biased to want to believe something, especially if you don't understand how AI is evolving, you think to yourself, but I'm watching him with my own eyes saying it. You just got to be very, very careful for that stuff, and people fall victim to that stuff all the time. Also, YouTubers in the comments. Man, this is a big one. In the comment section, all right, I was trying to find an example of a YouTube impersonation, but you may see Crypto Wealth with this little logo responding to you in the comments, but it won't be like actually me. So you got to be very careful for that, which, by the way, watch this. This is crazy.
Wait, stop. This girl does not exist. She is fake. Look at this Instagram profile. And now look at this one. They are both fake, not real.
So did you catch that? Now they can even do influencers that aren't real. They can dance. They can look like they're real people. This is not a real girl. They can go as far as to make it look like Elon Musk is actually having a conversation and speaking, and it's not really Elon Musk. We're at the point, ladies and gentlemen, in this day and age, you can no longer trust video. Be very careful for fake malware. There's plenty of ads out there offering you to scan your computer for a virus. The software they're using is not real. It's designed to put software on your computer that's going to capture your keystrokes when you go to put in your passwords, when you go to type in your private key. Anytime, those key loggers are going to be able to see that. So be very, very careful for that. Next up, man-in-the-middle attacks. Okay, so this is when, if you go to airports or hotels or to parks or wherever, sometimes you'll see free public Wi-Fi. Be very careful. They are very unsecure. You can find so many videos out there where people are using things like Wireshark to hack into public Wi-Fi. Be very, very careful. I use a VPN, but what it essentially does is it prevents people from seeing your traffic. So they see, and I use TorGuard. I pay for a year at a time, and it's like $30, and I can pay with cryptocurrency. The VPN ultimately just protects your privacy, so people can't see, like, if you're trying to log into social media accounts, if you're trying to log into bank accounts, they can't see any of that when you're using a good VPN. But it has to be a solid VPN. That's the key to it. So that's why I don't like free VPNs. I always use actual paid VPNs. Okay, next up, giveaway scams. A lot of the scams, they will use like impersonation scams to do a phishing attack. Or they'll use an impersonation scam with a giveaway, like send us 0.1 ETH and we'll send you back 0.2 ETH. Doesn't make any sense if you think about it, but when you see Elon Musk saying it, then it seems believable. So basically, send us X amount, we'll send you X amount more, and then when you send the funds, you don't ever get anything back. Again, it sounds so silly. You're like, how can people fall for this? But ladies and gentlemen, people fall for it all the time. Now, knock on wood, I haven't fell for this one, but people fall for them all the time. So be very, very careful. Next up, SIM swapping. Attackers trick a mobile carrier into switching a victim's phone number over a SIM card they control. With access to the phone number, they can bypass SMS-based two-factor authentication on the victim's cryptocurrency wallets and accounts. So when you go to log into your crypto exchange or your wallet or whatever, and it asks you for the two-factor authentication code, well, what happens is if they have your phone number switched over to their SIM card, then all of a sudden they're going to get that code and they'll be able to get access to your account that way. So how in the world do attackers trick mobile characters? It's essentially social engineering. They call up somebody on the phone. They are very convincing. They may act like they're traveling. They may act like they're your wife, and they've lost their phone. They just bought another phone. They're stranded overseas. They just need to be able to get the phone number switched over, and they just play the sympathy card. And it just so happens they're able to convince somebody on the other end to be able to. They're not supposed to do it. Every mobile character in any developed nation has policies not to do this. But people make exceptions because they think the person on the phone is so believable, and it just happens. The best way to prevent this is to use something called a YubiKey. Essentially, when you secure your accounts, and I have these, when you secure your accounts with a YubiKey, but they actually have to have that hardware device in their possession to gain access to the accounts. So it prevents people from being able to use a SIM swap on your accounts. Problem with SIM swapping without using a hardware device like a YubiKey, this is out of your control. This is you just hoping whoever picks up the phone at your mobile carrier doesn't make a bad decision. That's the downfall to this one. This has less to do with you unless you have a hardware device like a YubiKey. Next up, mining scams. Okay, story time on this one. Mining scams. These scams promise users cryptocurrency rewards for mining, often requiring payment for cloud mining services that never yield any return. The equipment may not exist, or the service is entirely fraudulent. These were more common when I first got into crypto. And there were legitimate mining operations out there. Genesis Mining is one of them. I think Genesis still exists, but they're a cloud mining company where essentially they're not cloud mining, they actually do mining. You actually purchase hash power and they're running the mining software through their own servers, their own miners. This is so easy to, I guess, scam because there's no way for you to know if you're actually purchasing what they say you're purchasing. In the past, I've been using the Cryptotab browser. I have a video, 5 years of mining cryptocurrency with Cryptotab, and I'll try to remember to link that above. I was using Cryptotab for years and years and got paid regularly for a couple of years. Now I have a pending payment that's never been paid, but one of the things that bugged me is I saw them selling quote-unquote cloud mining. Originally, the browser just mined a few pennies to a couple of dollars a month. That's it. Then they started selling boosted miners and all this stuff. And all of a sudden, I think they went from being legitimate to becoming a scam, unfortunately. If you're watching this and you remember my Cryptotab videos, there's a bunch of them on YouTube. I no longer use Cryptotab. I do think it's a scam now. And what they do is they do a lot of cloud mining now. They did not used to do all that nonsense. So just be very, very careful. Next up is an exit scam. This is just essentially what it says. Company starts up, maybe they started out as an ICO, one of those fraudulent ICOs, and they just exit. They just leave. They just disappear. They just run away. The website goes down. I recently had a cryptocurrency casino. I think this is what they did. Libet. If any of you remember that company, suddenly they just disappeared out of nowhere. And it's kind of crazy. That's just a straight up exit scam. You just have to be careful. It happens in crypto. The only way to avoid an exit scam is just wait for a track record. But again, track record doesn't always mean anything. The single biggest thing with crypto is be diversified and only come in with small amounts of money. This is a risky space. And we all read stories of this guy becoming a millionaire, that guy becoming a millionaire, this guy getting early and getting rich. But for every success story, there could be hundreds of people that weren't successful or got scammed. Now, I'm not saying that a business failure is necessarily a scam. I'm just saying if a company's around one day and they're gone the next, like with Libet, they were like, hey, we're going to be updating our website. Give us a few hours, give us a day or so to go online. And then they're like, give us a couple more days. We're going to be back online soon. And if you go there now, there's a website kind of there, but kind of not. And I get emails coming from Libet now, and it's always in Russian. That makes no sense when they were always in English before. It looks like they exit scammed. I mean, that's what it looks like to me. Next up, flash loan attacks. These things are crazy. It has the same effect of, say, a rug pull, but it's not the developer. An attacker attacks the protocol and pulls the money out. The biggest one of 2023 right here, a flash loan attack happened on Euler Finance. $197 million was stolen. This can happen. This is DeFi. Things happen. So you just got to be very, very careful. There's nothing you can do about a flash loan attack. This is why no matter how great a protocol is, no matter how much money you're making, no matter how much you believe in it, don't put all your eggs in one basket, because you never know if a project can be attacked. And they don't know if a project can be attacked. I was in a project, Bean.money. They had a flash loan attack that hit them, and they have yet to truly recover. It's still there. They're still floundering, but they've yet to recover. Outright Ponzi scams. These are so common, and it sucks to see how many people fall victim of this. And I have fell victim as well. I'll share with you the story here in a moment. But you just got to be careful. This is where someone claims that they're doing something. They have some expert trader trading. They've got some expert programmer programming some sort of trading bot. And you put in money and they're paying you returns every month. I'm not going to tell you that it couldn't be legit on some level. It probably depends on how much the returns are. But here's what you want to look out for. If they say they're giving you 1% a day every day, it's a scam. Nobody's producing 1% a day consistently every single day. Maybe any trader can produce 1, 2, 3, 4% in a short period of time. In crypto, you can have big days. Heck, I just had a day this past week where I had like a 4% day on one of my accounts. But you can't do that every single day. It's never going to happen. The market doesn't move like that. So if someone's producing consistent returns, particularly if it's daily returns over time, you just got to be careful. And some of these projects can be good at tricking you. And I'll share with you how I got tricked once. If they're producing 3, 4, 5% a month, maybe it's legit. But for me, I need to see how they're producing the returns. I'm over trusting people. I'm over like, oh yeah, they're producing 3, 4%, 5% returns. There's a lot of Telegram bots out there. They could really be legit if they're truly trading, producing 3, 4, 5% returns. That's what you've got to be very, very careful about. And when I was naive, I fell victim. Many people are familiar with BitConnect. I probably watched it for a full solid year. And the returns were roughly 1% a day, but I said the same thing. It sounds too good to be true, so I kept watching it. People were getting paid, but I understand it doesn't matter how much people get paid, because every Ponzi scam pays out until it doesn't. I remember what got me is they were like, no, we're trading on volatility. Well, that made sense. I understood how volatility trading worked. And it can be semi-consistent. It shouldn't be consistent every day. But when you kept researching, they would say things like, no, we're not consistent every day. We're doing around 1%. And you would go look at their daily returns, and they weren't quite 1%, kind of pretty close, but they weren't quite 1%. So you would think, okay, well, it's not 1% every day. That's what I'm thinking. And I'm watching this for over a year. I watched it. And then there was a chart on their website, which I hadn't seen before. And it showed their daily volatility, and you see that chart go up and down. And when it was down, they didn't make as much money. When it was up, they had made more money, and it was like a little historical chart. And finally, I was like, okay. I literally watched people become millionaires following for over a year online on YouTube. So at some point, you're like, okay. Let me test this out. So you throw $1,000 in, $1,500 in, and you just watch it. And it ran for several more months. I remember whenever I got in, I think I got my full $1,500 out. It was close. When it kind of scammed out, it was like, what? It was a complete exit scam, just totally disappeared. Government come in and shut them down. However, it went down, whatever happened. I don't remember all the details. But you watch something long enough, you want to believe maybe it could work, maybe it could be real. It looks like it's working for other people. If we don't dismiss it right away and we watch it long enough, we try to be open-minded, then we can all say, well, what if? What if it works? And the crazy thing is people are like, well, if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. And listen to me. The crazy thing about crypto is most of this that is legit still sounds too good to be true. I do far better selling options in crypto than most people do because it's so volatile. I can create algorithmic trading bots that can have 3 to 10% months trading. You can't do that on the stock exchange. Why? Because crypto is so volatile. Crypto, there's airdrops. Some of them are a scam. I didn't even cover that in here, fake airdrops. But airdrops exist. I've gotten real money when Uniswap did an airdrop. These guys did an airdrop. Suddenly, anyone who had ever interacted with their protocol, this is several years ago, you could look it up online, you got free tokens. Those tokens, my tokens, when I sold them, I think they were worth about $1,200. Free money. In crypto, Bitcoin forked and created Bitcoin Cash. The next day, everybody who owned Bitcoin owned an equivalent amount of Bitcoin Cash. We literally made free money. Does that sound too good to be true? Yes, but it was true in crypto. And sometimes I believe that's why crypto can be so susceptible to potential scams. Ponzi scams was the last thing that ChatGPT talked about. Be very careful anytime you interact with a crypto protocol of any kind on DeFi. You have your MetaMask wallet, your Rabby wallet, whatever browser wallet you have. Make certain, don't get used to just clicking buttons. If you tell them that you're sending, $50 worth of Ethereum, make certain that you're only sending $50 worth of Ethereum when you're clicking through on that MetaMask wallet or whatever. Make certain you set your permissions adequately. Don't just click max and just send, and that's a horrible habit to get into. Here's another thing. Periodically go to websites like revoke.cash, and you want to remove all the permissions, especially from any app you're currently not using. And it will cost you gas fees on Ethereum. That can be a little bit expensive, but you want to revoke their access to your wallet. Okay, let me just say this. Anytime you use your wallet and you see that you have coins or tokens or NFTs that you did not buy, you don't remember buying, don't interact with them. Don't sell them. Don't try to send them nowhere. Let them stay put. Because a lot of times what will happen is when you go to try to sell or whatever, usually there's no liquidity, you couldn't sell. But if you try to sell, you might actually be giving them access to your wallet and someone could potentially drain your wallet. Don't interact with it. That's oftentimes the way that people are trying to lure you into interacting with some sort of a scam. So be wary of that as well. And again, you can always go to revoke.cash and just make certain there's no permissions to your wallet, that someone doesn't have permission to your wallet. And if you've been in DeFi for long, there's probably hundreds of permissions that you could go revoke in some cases, one by one. And it's worth it periodically to go revoke all of those permissions to your wallet. All right, next up, government scam. This is one that ChatGPT did not talk about, but in crypto, you need to be wary of. Now, I'm not talking about the government come in and taking your crypto or stealing your crypto, but they can steal your USD value. It puts your crypto value at risk. This is the best example that I know of. Coinbase started seeking government regulation way back 2016 timeframe. They have this whole thing on their website, enhancing trust with regulatory compliance. And they talk about all the regulatory compliance that they've tried to follow and apply. I just did a video yesterday on Base Chain, which is their new blockchain put out by Coinbase. I'll try to remember to link that video above. I'll put it in the description. But in that video, I talk about the CEO of Coinbase. His whole motto is individuals need economic freedom, and their method is complying with government regulations first and trying to encourage and embrace and lead the way with creating economic freedom for citizens of the world. But their whole model is not like operate outside the government like a lot of early crypto projects were, crypto exchanges. They're like, no, we're going to do the exact opposite. We want to embrace regulation. Then what happens is they embrace regulations. They get in this crazy area where all of a sudden All these other countries are coming out with the regulations. The US government is not leading the way in regulations. And what's ended up happening is, let me come back to this slide. Coinbase seeks government regulation over the years. They try to comply with all the regulators, not just the SEC, FINRA, all the KYC stuff, everything, anti-money laundering stuff, the CFTC, everybody. They're trying to get regulated. What do we need to do to operate legally? They're one of the first crypto companies in the world to establish a banking relationship. I think it was Silver Bank. Then the SEC comes along and allows them to go public. After granting them permission to go public and allow them to trade on the stock exchange as a publicly traded company, then they come back a year or two later and says, oh, now we're going to file a lawsuit against you for selling unregistered securities after we gave you permission to go public, basically gave you our blessings. I could have made another line here. The Coinbase came back and said, okay, what do we have to do to become registered? And the SEC basically come back and said, oh, we can't tell you, or we choose not to tell you. And now Coinbase is suing them. It's just crazy. And when you have this sort of regulatory nonsense, it puts all of our crypto values at risk. And that's something that we don't have any control over per se. It's just the environment that we're in. Being an early adopter allows you to potentially make a lot of money if this whole space is successful, but it does put you at risk and you have to be aware of that. Next up is you got to be careful on Twitter. I have to show you this. One of the best people that you can follow on Twitter, ZachXBT. This guy's pretty incredible in sniffing out a bunch of scams that exist out there. When I was making this video, I put up his profile to talk to you about XBT, sorry. And then all of a sudden, I noticed, oh, ZachXBT's following me. So I clicked on it. I just scrolled down. I started thinking, wait a minute, is this the same one? And then look what I noticed. ZachXBT. But if you come up here, ZachXBF. This is exactly how a phishing scam works. This is impersonation. That's not ZachXBT. And here you can see it's ZachXBT period. ZachXBT, no period, ZachXBT. There's clearly someone using this guy's account and they're trying to impersonate him. Twitter and YouTube, you can't expect them to go shut down all these scammers all the time. I mean, it's just constant. It's just absolute constant. So be very, very careful with who you interact with. And again, you'll see a link that's going to a website and it's not even real. You got to be careful. Oh, let me go back to the notification. That was the giveaway. That's the first thing I noticed. I was like, dgen-roulette.vericel app. What? This is the imposter account. ZachXBF. So I came here and clicked on that. I thought, connect wallet. That's the first thing I see. I was like, no. That can't be right. And then I went back and said, there's no way this guy. So then I come up here and I typed in ZachXBT. Okay, there's the check. Which, by the way, that check can be fake too. This is what I'm looking at. This right here. Okay. And then I realized he had a different pinned comment. Wow, that was an impersonator. So don't follow this person. Unfollow them. It's a total scam. There's probably some way to report this. Do report it. That was, first of all, impersonation. You could argue it's phishing as well. And that probably would have definitely been a wallet drain if I would have clicked on the connect wallet. So just be very, very careful. Real risk in crypto. Listen, projects go bad, that's risky. The market doesn't do well, that's risky. The government has unclear regulations, that's risky. So there are very real risk in crypto. There's a lot of scams in this space. There's a lot of scams that exist around the US dollar and around any other currency as well. But because of the digital nature of crypto, it's easy for a lot of these scams to exist. So just be very, very careful. There's one last crypto scam that's going on, and this scam is actively getting advertised on YouTube. I'm going to do an entire dedicated video on this. It should be on your end screen now. Go ahead and watch that video next.